Everyone, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to continue with the second part of my last video, that was motion. So in today's video, we'll be talking about speed, average speed, velocity, and acceleration of an moving body. So first, let's introduce speed. So what is speed? You might have many times heard that he's moving with the speed of he's moving with the speed of 3 meter per second. The car is moving at a speed of 40 kilometer per hour. So what is speed? Speed can be defined as the distance covered in unit time, or in simple words can be said as the rate of change of distance. For example, 4 kilometer per hour. It means that moving object can cover a distance of 4 kilometer in 1 hour or 2 kilometer in 30 minutes. Now, let's talk about the SI unit of speed. So, as you all know that speed is the distance covered in unit time. So, the SI unit of distance is meters and the SI unit of time is seconds. So, the SI unit of speed will be meter per second. Now, I'm going to talk about the device used to measure speed. The device used to measure speed is called as the speedometer. The formula to calculate speed is distance divided by time. Now let's talk about average speed. So what is average speed? When an object covers a certain distance with different speeds at different sections, the average speed can be calculated as the total distance traveled divided by the total time taken. Now, let's talk about instantaneous speed and the average speed. So, what is instantaneous speed? The speed at any given instant in time is called as instantaneous speed. And average speed can be simply defined as the average of all instantaneous speeds. That means the average of all the speedometer readings in a car, bus, etc. Now let's talk about velocity. So what is velocity? The physical property that gives us both speed and direction of the moving body is called as its velocity. It is a vector quantity. So now let's talk about the formula of velocity. Velocity is displacement divided by time. Velocity is displacement divided by time because as velocity is a vector quantity, it cannot be measured by distance divided by time because distance is a scalar quantity. It does not give us the direction of the object. Hence, velocity is measured as displacement divided by time, as displacement also gives us the direction of the object. So, velocity means it also includes the direction of the object. So now let's take an example. There are two objects. One of the object is moving this direction and another object is moving in this direction. And both the cars have the same speed, that is 60 km per hour. Are their velocities same? No, their velocity are not same because they are moving in different directions. If they are moving with the same speed in the same direction, their velocities are same. So now let's talk about acceleration. The rate of change of velocity is called as acceleration. Now let's talk about the SI unit of acceleration. The SI unit of acceleration is meter per second square, meter per second square. For example, the acceleration of that car is 25 meter per minute square. The acceleration of that boy is 2 meter per second square, and etc. Now let's talk about the formula to find acceleration. As acceleration is a change in velocity, acceleration is equal to the change in velocity divided by time. As the change in velocity is equals to the final velocity minus the initial velocity, the final formula for acceleration will be final velocity minus initial velocity divided by time. In variables, it can be expressed as v minus u by t. So now I am going to say how to calculate the speed, the time and the distance of an object. So first let's start with speed. So as I earlier said, we all know that speed is equals to distance divided by time, and this formula in variables can be expressed as s is equals to d by t. Now the question is, the distance covered by an object is 240 km and the time taken to cover this 240 km distance is 4 hours. So what is the speed? So as we all know that s is equals to d by t, that is speed is equals to distance divided by time. It will be 240 divided by 4, where 240 km is the distance and 4 is the time taken to cover that distance. So when we divide 240 by 4, we get 60 km per hour. And as the distance is mentioned in kilometer and the time is in hours, the unit of speed will be kilometer per hour. Now let's go to time. So as I earlier, so time is equals to distance divided by speed. As when we rearrange this equation, time will come here and speed will come here. So we will get this equation. So in variables it can be expressed as t is equals to d by s. So now the question is, distance is 240 km per hour and speed is 60 km per hour. So we know that t is equals to d by s. So the distance is 240 km and the speed is 60 km per hour. So when we divide this, we will get 4 hours. And as the speed is mentioned in hours, the unit of time will also be hours. Now let's go to distance. So the distance of an object is equals to speed into time. Because when we rearrange this equation, where if you want to find the distance, time will come this side and it will become multiplication. So in the variables it can be expressed as d is equals to s into t. So now here the question is, speed of an object is 60 km per hour and the time taken to cover a certain distance that is not mentioned is 4 hours. So what is the distance? So from here we know that d is equal to s into t. So here 60 is the speed, that is 60 km per hour, and 4 is the time taken, that is 4 hours. So the distance is equals to 240 km. So now I am going to explain how to find the velocity of an object. As I said earlier, the velocity is equal to the displacement divided by time, and in variables it can be expressed as v is equals to s by t. Displacement is written as small letter s in variable form. So now here's the question. There's an square shaped path and each side is measuring 4 meter. So a person moves from point A to point B, then to point C and then to D and stop there. So now we have to find the velocity. So as we know, the velocity is equal to displacement divided by time. The displacement of this is AD, as the shortest distance between A and D is AD, that is 4 meter. So as V is equal to S by T, V is equal to, the displacement is equal to 4 and the time taken to cover the 4 meter is 2 seconds. So velocity will be 4 divided by 2, that is 2 meter per second. Now I am going to say how to calculate the acceleration of an object. So as I said earlier, acceleration is equal to the change in velocity divided by time. So change in velocity means it is the difference of final velocity and the initial velocity. So the final formula for acceleration is final velocity minus the initial velocity divided by time. And in variables it can be expressed as a is equals to v minus u by t, where v is the final velocity, u is the initial velocity. A is acceleration and T is time. So, I'm going to show you two examples where in one of the examples the acceleration is positive and in another example the acceleration is negative. And when the acceleration is negative, it means that your object is decelerating. That means that its acceleration is decreasing. So now let's look in the first example. So the first example is speed of the object changes from 20 meter per second to 26 meter per second in 3 seconds. What is the acceleration? So we know that A is equals to V minus U by T. So here the final velocity is 26 meter per second. So 26, and the initial velocity, that is U, is 20 meter per second, and the T, that is time, is 3 seconds. So A is equals to 26 minus 20 by 3. The next step, 26 minus 20 is 6. So A is equals to 6 divided by 3, that is 2 meter per second square. So in this example, the acceleration is positive. It means that the acceleration is increasing. So if the acceleration is increasing, the speed will also continuously increase. Now let's go to the second example. Speed changes from 56 km per hour to 54 km per hour. So what is the acceleration? Here we can see that the speed is decreasing. So it means that the acceleration will be in a negative value. So now let's find the acceleration. So we know that A is equals to V minus U by T. So here the final velocity is 54 km per hour. So 54, and the initial velocity, that is U, is 56 km per hour. and the time is 2 seconds. So it will be 54 minus 56 by 2 by 3600. Here I have done 2 by 3600 because the speed is mentioned in kilometer per hour, but the time is in seconds. So we have to convert the seconds into hours. So we know that 1 second is equal to 1 by 3600 of an hour. So 2 seconds will be 2 by 3600 of an hour. So now 54 minus 56 is minus 2. So next step is minus 2 by 2 by 3600. Now the next step, we can cancel this 2 and minus 2. So we will get minus 1 into 3600, and in the last step we get that the acceleration is minus 3600 km per hour square. Here it is in a negative value. So that means that the speed will be continuously decreasing. So this is what we call as deceleration, where the acceleration is decreasing.